In this lecture, I will discuss about the internal energy. It is a common experience that ice melts on heating to give water at 0 degrees centigrade. We all know about this fact. Now, on the basis of the kinetic theory of gases, we can say that if temperature remains constant, the kinetic energy does not change. Since energy has to be conserved, what can you say about the added energy? You know that during the phase transition, that is when ice is being converted to water, at that time the temperature is constant. Now kinetic energy depends on temperature. As temperature is constant, so kinetic energy does not change. So if energy has to be conserved, so what we can say about the added energy? Now, when ice is converted into water, its specific volume changes from 0.92 to 1. We all know that is density must be changed. For ice, this is 0.92 and for water, this is 1. To bring about this change, some work has to be done at the expense of added energy. However, the major share of the additional energy is used up in breaking the bonds of intermolecular attraction in ice, and this energy is stored in water. We have to understand this fact that if you consider the ice, there must be strong intermolecular attraction. Now, if you break this intermolecular attraction, then water will be formed, and the energy which was used in breaking the bonds of intermolecular attraction, that is, you have applied heat energy. You have applied heat energy. Temperature was constant, but you have applied heat energy. That heat energy was used in breaking the bonds of intermolecular attraction, and this energy was finally stored in water, which is again released when water freezes into ice. So, in the reverse process, when water freezes into ice, this energy is released. So, the stored energy apparently shown by a system during a phase transition is termed internal energy. So, what is internal energy? Internal energy is basically a stored energy. In thermodynamics, it is not necessary to know the source of this energy. We do not need to know how this energy came from, but we can easily conceptualize it on the basis of molecular theory. We know that matter is made up of a large number of atoms or molecules. At temperature above absolute zero, they are in a state of constant motion, and hence each one of them has kinetic energy. The sum total of kinetic energies of all molecules is known as internal kinetic energy. And also, due to interatomic or intermolecular interaction, each atom or molecule making up the system possesses potential energy also. The total energy stored in the system due to the atomic or molecular interaction is called total internal potential energy, similar to the internal kinetic energy. Thus, ultimately, the sum of the total internal kinetic and potential energies of all molecules constitutes the internal energy of the system, and we denote it by the symbol capital U. We are usually interested only in the changes in the value of the internal energy which may be accomplished by the following three types of interaction. So, what are the three types of interaction? First one is thermal interaction, second one is mechanical interaction, and the third one is diffusive interaction. And I will discuss step by step about these three types of interaction. Now, thermal interaction. The internal energy of a system may be changed by adding or removing heat. For instance, we may add heat energy by holding a body over a flame or remove it by putting it in ice cold water. The thermal interaction between two systems is described in this figure. You just look at this figure. There is a hotter system. This A system is hotter system, and there is another system B. B is the colder system, and they are separated by a thin thermally conducting rigid boundary. This one is the boundary. This one is the boundary. There is a rigid boundary separating them. These are together insulated from the outside by a rigid insulating surface. This surface is the insulating surface which separate those body from the surrounding. Since temperature is a measure of the average kinetic energy per particle, the particles making up the system A have higher kinetic energy than do those of systems B. So definitely the particles of the hotter system has higher kinetic energy. The particles making up these systems will collide along the surface of contact. So there will be collision between the particles of the hotter system and colder systems in the point of contact. The particles of system A will lose energy in collisions. When a large number of collisions have occurred, energy will be transferred from system A to the system B. That is, heat flows from the hotter system to the cooler system. Heat may also be transferred by electromagnetic radiation. More energetic particles tend to radiate greater energy than do less energetic particles, so that radiative interactions also result in net transfer of energy from the hotter to the colder system. So apart from the above example, heat can also be transferred by radiation process. But the main conclusion of the above examples is that in thermal contact, when the systems will be in thermal contact, heat is transferred from one system to the other system due to the collision process of their constituent particles along the surface separating them, and in the collision process a more energetic particles loses energy, so that heat flows from the hotter body to the colder body. Now I will discuss about the second type of interaction, which is the mechanical interaction. The internal energy of a system may also change when work is done on or by the system. And we know from the concept of mechanics that what is work? Work is equal to W is equal to F dot S. What is F? F is the force and S is the displacement. There are a wide variety of forces that can do work on a system. It may be electrical force, magnetic force, there are different types of forces in nature. The work done by a thermodynamic system is taken as positive, and the work done on a system is taken as negative. We have to remind this concept throughout the lectures, because these concepts will be repeated again and again. So I am again repeating the sentence, that is, the work done by a thermodynamic system is taken as positive, and the work done on a system is taken as negative. It may be mentioned that the nature of force is irrelevant when one considers the effect of work on changing the internal energy. The nature of force may be different. To understand how work changes the internal energy of a system, we consider collisions between the particles and the walls of the container. Since we are not interested in heat transfer to the walls of the container, because we are interested between the heat transfer between two particular bodies which are in contact. We are not interested in heat transfer to the walls of the container. So we assume that collisions are elastic. That is, when particles collide against a stationary wall, their energy does not change. But they tend to gain energy if the system is being compressed and walls are moving inward. On the other hand, they tend to lose energy if the system expands and the walls move out. The internal energy of a system under pressure will increase with further compression and decrease with expansion. It may be noted here that a mechanical force gives energy to particles at the boundary where it acts, and this energy is communicated to other particles gradually. In the case of electric and magnetic forces, the energy is given directly and instantaneously to all the particles. Now, I will discuss an example in real life. As a child grows, he or she is able to gradually sit on his or her own. They can stand on the feet and take a few steps forward in due course of time. A more energetic or healthy child is more confident. Thermodynamically speaking, the internal energy of the child increases with months and years and enables greater movement or action. This energy is supplied in the form of milk fed by the lactating mother and or nutritional food supplements. So these are the source of internal energy, and they are working on their own. That is the work done by them. So internal energy has been used in some mechanical work. For normal growth, internal energy must increase. There are several numerical problems given in the textbook. Let me say that is what is the textbook. The textbook is Thermal Physics with Kinetic Theory, Thermodynamics and Statistical Mechanics by Garg, Bansal and Ghosh, and I request the students to go through the numerical problems discussed here. Now I will discuss about third type of interaction, which is the diffusive interaction. When two systems exchange particles means it may be atoms or molecules. So when they exchange particles, they are said to be diffusively interacting. So how this exchange occurs? To understand about this exchange, which gives rise to a change in internal energy of a system, we note that the particles making up the system possesses potential energy due to intermolecular interaction. We have already discussed that intermolecular interaction forms the potential energy of the system. And we know that one has to choose a zero energy level to measure potential energy. We have already read in our higher secondary classes that there must be some zero energy level to define the potential energy. Usually, the bottom of a potential well in which a particle sits serves as the reference level, and as long as the system is not in diffusive interaction, all energies are measured relative to it. So let us look at this figure. Here x is the distance and ux is the measure of the potential energy. This particular parabolic graph is the graph of the potential energy, and if the particle sits, that is, in the bottom of this well, if the bottom of this well, then this will be used as a reference level as long as the system is not in diffusive interaction. So this point is very important. That is, we can use this level, that is the bottom level, as a reference level when the system is not in diffusive interaction. At that time, we can measure all energies with respect to this bottom position. Usually, this level will be different for different systems. It must be so. Therefore, for systems exchanging particles, one has to establish a universal reference level to measure the energies of all interacting systems. This universal zero energy reference level is taken as the potential energy of an isolated particle. So when there will be diffusion, then we have to consider that zero energy level as the reference level. The energy of the lowest point in a particle potential well measured with respect to the universal reference level is called the chemical potential energy and is denoted by the symbol mu. Again, I am repeating, that is, what is the definition of mu? The energy of the lowest point in a particle well measured with respect to the universal reference level. That is, you see the figure again. This lowest point has been described mu. With respect to what? With respect to the zero level. We can consider this level as the zero level. So with respect to zero level, the energy of the bottom level is mu. This energy is known as the chemical potential energy and is represented by the symbol mu. It may be mentioned here that when intermolecular interactions are predominantly attractive, the chemical potential is negative, and when the interactions are repulsive, the chemical potential is positive. Furthermore, interactions among neighbors and therefore the chemical potential are influenced by the temperature, volume and number of particles in the system. So these are the properties of the chemical potential, and the concept of the chemical potential is very important and it will be used in different chapters of the thermodynamics. Now, the energy of a particle trapped in a harmonic oscillator potential well whose lowest point has energy mu can be written as epsilon is equal to epsilon Th, Th means thermal, epsilon thermal plus mu, where epsilon thermal is equal to half k r square plus half mv square. So epsilon Th is the thermal energy and equal to the sum of the kinetic energy and potential energy. Half mv square is the kinetic energy, half k r square is the potential energy, and the potential energy being measured relative to the lowest point in the potential well. So the total internal energy of a system of n particles may be written as U is equal to ETH plus capital N into mu. ETH. What is ETH? ETH is equal to N into epsilon Th. Here we have multiplied by the total number of particles, capital N. And here N mu, that is chemical potential, has been multiplied by the total number of particles to get the total internal energy, capital U, of the system. When a particle goes from one system to another, interactions with new neighbors in the changed environment may change its chemical potential and hence the internal energy. We know that total internal energy is dependent on the chemical potential, and when some particle goes from one system to the another, there is some interaction with the new neighbors, and in this interaction changes the chemical potential, and as the chemical potential is changed, so there will be change in the internal energy. Suppose delta n particles are added to the system without adding any thermal energy at all. We know that internal energy is the sum of the thermal energy and the chemical potential, and we are assuming that we are not adding any thermal energy, we are just adding delta n particles to the system. So what will be the change in internal energy? Delta U is equal to mu into delta N, as we are not considering the change of thermal energy. So delta U is equal to mu into delta N, and this is illustrated in figure 5.3. You just look at the figure 5.3 here. Here this is the system A and this is another system B, and system A and system B, uh, they are separated by a porous rigid insulating wall. Porous wall means there will be exchange of the particles. You see in the figure, that is there is some exchange of the particles. So as there is some exchange of the particle, and by the above logic, that is where we have said, that is if we are adding delta n particles to the system, so there will be some change in the internal energy. Now it may be pointed out here that when systems are not exchanging particles, one will not take note of the changes in zero energy reference level, and the internal energy will be equal to the thermal energy. So when there is no case of exchange of the particle, so at that time we will not consider the change of the chemical potential. At that time we will be concerned about the change of thermal energy. And these two systems can be envisaged as being separated by a flexible thermally conducting membrane. So let us look at figure 5.4. In figure 5.4, system A and system B, they are separated by a flexibly thermally conducting membrane. Here, and there is no exchange of the particles, so there is no change of chemical potential, and as the membrane is thermally conducting membrane, so there will be exchange of the thermal energy, and internal energy will be changed only due to the change in the thermal energy. So that is all about the diffusive interaction. So the main conclusion of the lecture is that, and that internal energy is the sum of the kinetic energy and potential energy, and internal energy can be changed in different types of interaction. So what are the different types of interaction? Interactions may be thermal interaction may be mechanical interaction, and interaction may be diffusive type of interaction. To understand this lecture more clearly, I advise the students to go through the textbook of Garg, Bansal and Ghosh. And thank you all for listening this lecture.